Hi, thank you for joining us. Iran says it has opened the Strait of Hormuz, and President Trump says the regime is very close to making a deal. The president told our Weijia Jiang that Iran had agreed to virtually everything the U.S. was pushing for when the war started. That includes the removal of enriched uranium, which he says the U.S. will do in coordination with Iran, although an Iranian official later denied that. President Trump also said the regime had agreed to stop funding its militant proxy groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, and that the two sides will meet for talks this weekend. In the meantime, the U.S. is still imposing a naval blockade of Iranian ports. Here's what the president said about that today.
What will it take to end the blockade?
When the agreement is signed, the blockade ends. As soon as the agreement gets signed, that's when the blockade ends.
The opening of the strait comes as welcome news to the oil market. Iran announced the move after Israel agreed to a ceasefire with Lebanon. 20% of the world's oil flows through the strait, and the closure has sent costs skyrocketing, meaning higher prices at the gas pump and grocery stores. All that being said, none of this is in writing yet. CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab got a firsthand look at the critical waterway.
Well, the announcement by Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi that the Strait of Hormuz, which is just in these waters behind me, has now been reopened for the duration of this ceasefire. It is a huge shift. Now, we also have heard from the president, who has also confirmed that the strait is now open, again, for the duration of the ceasefire, a ceasefire which is due to expire on the 22nd of this month. That only gives the U.S. and Iran a couple of days to come up with some sort of solution, or it would seem that that blockade is back in place. Now, you can probably see behind me some ships. Those ships have been stuck there for nearly 7 weeks now. This waterway is where 20% of the world's energy supply passes through, and it has really put a chokehold on the global economy, sending prices soaring around the world, including at gas pumps in the United States. But this was always a condition of President Trump for talks for this waterway to reopen. It's now reopened. Just how fast these ships are going to start moving again is anyone's guess. But the fact that this agreement is now in place and that the Hormuz Strait is now open is a very significant development. Back to you.
Imtiaz Tyab, thank you. CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson joins us now. What is the current status of the strait? Are vessels going through?
It's really where it's been before, with very little traffic going through, despite the fact that President Trump says it's now open to all traffic. And that may be because in Iran's announcement about the strait being open, it said, yes, it's open, but through the controlled route that Iran has established. And I think for many vessels, they're still concerned about risks of an Iranian attack if they sail so close to the Iranian coast. And at the same time, there are no Iranian ships coming from Iranian ports because the U.S. is still implementing that blockade down from deep in the Gulf of Oman. The military, as of today, said that 19 vessels since the blockade went into effect on Monday have turned around at the direction of U.S. forces. So essentially right now we have a double blockade because of the U.S. one and the risk of an Iranian attack. And until the strait opens to all traffic, it is expected that energy prices may remain high for some time.
What more are we learning about Iran's military capabilities left?
Well, yesterday, the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, in a written statement submitted to Congress, said that while Iran has been its capabilities have deteriorated because of the U.S. bombing campaign, it still retains thousands of missiles and one-way attack drones that could pose a threat to the U.S. and other allied countries in the region. That kind of goes against what President Trump has been saying during his optimistic talks about a potential deal, where he has said that Iran has really been destroyed militarily. The only card it has is the Strait of Hormuz. Clearly, this testimony yesterday says that while Iran has been significantly weakened, it still has some cards to play to try and inflict some damage.
How has China looked at this conflict?
That same written statement was interesting because China does have a defense relationship with Iran, but so far in this conflict has not agreed to send any full weapon systems because China doesn't necessarily want to get involved. It remains cautious about its ties with Iran because of the reputational damage and potentially sanctions it could suffer.
Eleanor Watson, thank you.